Welcome to your Mac Life for Wednesday, October the 4th, the first Wednesday in October. Oh, and I'm sick. I'm so sick. I'm seriously, my whole head is just, I'm Sly level sick. My head is stuffy. You're going to hear me snuffle. You'll probably see me sneeze. It's not going to be a pretty evening. I'm sorry. I apologize. For those folks who are listening in live, for you folks in the archive, you won't know what I'm talking about, so don't worry about it. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking to, as always, our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. We're talking about the news of the week. If you have any comments or questions about stuff, as always, send me emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Love getting emails from you guys, so send them along the way. And I don't know we'll get to any emails tonight because I'm sick and I want to lie down. If I could do the show from a bed, I'd be doing it from a bed because, sorry, as I said, I'm sick. It's one of those sick things that literally last night we're lying in bed watching Big Bang Theory, and between one commercial break and the next, it was like, my head stuffed up. Just completely nose clogged, throbbing head, achy body, all of that stuff. Just instantly. And so I suffer through Big Bang Theory, and I just like, oh. And the very kind, sweet, gentle Melissa says she didn't say alternative medicine, but she has, alternative medicine for me. Okay, what is it? She said, well, it's oil of oregano. What? Oil of oregano. You'd put a single drop of oil of oregano, she said, in a tablespoon of honey, and you drink it. And I'm like, how the hell can that do anything? Because I'm not an alternative medicine kind of guy. When I get sick, I want just handfuls of Tylenol and Dristan and NyQuil. No, not NyQuil. I hate NyQuil. This stuff. So I tease her about it because I tease her about her alternative stuff. And she says, try it. She said, well, I'll warn you, it's very powerful. It's oregano. I put oregano on my eggs. What's the big deal? So she prepares this for me, and I drag my ass out to the kitchen, sit down at the kitchen table, and she's got the teaspoon of honey, which is nice, and one drop of oil of oregano. And she gives me the teaspoon. Actually, I open my mouth and she shoves it in my face. And puts it in my mouth, and there's a really weird flip. Oh my God! Oh my God! I ran. She said, "Don't throw up." I was like, ah. I'm leaning over the kid, and I swear to God, if Rory, her 11-year-old son, hadn't been in the living room, I would have thrown up. But I'm not throwing up in front of an 11-year-old. That's just undignified. That's unmanly. So I'm like hanging on the kitchen sink, and liquid is pouring out of me. I was like, I can't drool out of my nose, my eyes, everywhere, liquid just pouring out of my head. It was awful. It was incredibly painful. I could not believe how painful this was. And I'm like, she's behind me going, just breathe. I can't. I can't breathe because my body will not allow anything else to come into my face. And I was literally like that for a good 3 minutes. Just, and then for a good hour afterwards, there's this taste in the back of my throat. I couldn't get rid of it. Brushed my teeth, mouthwash, and then got rid of it. And it's like an hour later, she goes, "Do you feel better?" No! I don't feel better. I feel the exact same, except I have this horrible taste in my throat. It was awful. Has anyone else heard of this stuff? I've heard of essential oils, yes. But oil of oregano as a cough or as a cold suppressant or cure or whatever the hell it was. Don't do it. Seriously, don't. If someone offers it to you, punch them because they're trying to kill you. Don't accept oil of oregano from any. Dave D says, yes, just this week. Did you try it? Yeah, it sounds worse than Dave D says this sounds a lot worse than the wasabi rush. It was actually more painful than wasabi, and I've taken large chunks of wasabi, like ounces of wasabi, and it was more painful than a wasabi hit. That's how bad it was. Excuse me. Sorry, I had to do that. It's also as a supplement completely unregulated for contents of efficacy and safety. Yeah, thanks. That's that green stuff served with sushi. Sounds it was supposed to be wasabi. Little known fact: most of us in North America have never had wasabi. We've had green tinted horseradish. Wasabi is very hard to find in North America. Most of the time, with your sushi, that's green stuff next to it is not actual wasabi. It's horseradish. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, don't forget, this is the last opportunity to send your entry forms in for the Lowepro bag contest. We're drawing tonight in an hour or so for 2 Lowepro camera bags. Send your emails to, actually, no, go to the website, yourmaclifeshow.com. Right there at the top, it says Friends of YML contest entry form. Send in your entry form, and it sends me an email. I will drop that email into a virtual hat, and then later on tonight's show, we'll draw for 2 Lowepro bags. If you're a subscriber to Your Mac Life, and I really wish you would be, please, I'm begging you, please. Subscribers get automatic entries. So if you subscribe to Your Mac Life, don't worry about it. You're automatically entered into the contest if you subscribe to Your Mac Life. And you can subscribe for $2, $5, $10, $15, whatever you want. For every $2 over the initial 2, you get an extra entry form. So the more you subscribe for each month, the more entries you get. And if you want, you can subscribe just for 1 month, whatever. But it helps pay for the stuff, the new studio and all the stuff. The move. Oh, speaking of which, for those folks who are wondering about the new studio, this is, I am now living on the beautiful Sunshine Coast of British Columbia. It's off the coast of, it's connected to the mainland, but you still have to you have to take a ferry to get here, a 40-minute ferry ride to get to the little town called Gibsons. For those fellow Canadians, Gibsons, you'll recognize the name. If not, you'll recognize the TV show that was filmed here called Beachcombers. Remember Beachcombers when we were kids? 70s? Beachcombers was filmed in and around this area. And one of the things I remember as a kid, I don't remember much about the Beachcombers, but I remember the scenery in the Beachcombers. And that's where I live now. It's spectacularly beautiful. Wonderfully beautiful. The problem is it's quite rural. Very, very small townish, which is not a bad thing, except I'm a city kid. I'm a confirmed, avowed city kid. I love cities. I love being on the outskirts of the city. I don't like being living downtown in the city anymore. I like being on the outskirts of a city because I ride the motorcycle. For example, this place doesn't have a McDonald's. It doesn't have a Kentucky Fried Chicken. See, to me, that's civilization. Now, it does have a Wendy's, and it does have a Tim Hortons. It has a Tim Hortons because by law, every town in Canada has to have a Tim Hortons. But it's quite rural. I think it's maybe a population of 5,000, if that. But it is beautiful. Now, it looks like it could have some nice cycling roads. I wouldn't know. I don't cycle. Does it have an Apple store? Not even close. Not even this area will never get an Apple store. Never. It doesn't have the population for an Apple store, let alone the money. Although there is a lot of money over here. There's a lot of money in the whole Vancouver general area. So, oh, I forgot to do this earlier. The traditional Sherry wave. Sorry, Sherry, I missed you earlier. Sorry. I'm going to try to sniffle off microphone and not subject you guys to the sound of me sniffling all night long. What else is going on? Oh, so yes, there was a move last week. I thought, wishful thinking. I thought I could get everything move-wise done in the day and then still do the show. And no, still haven't moved in. There's still stuff. My couch is still outside. It's under cover, but it's outside. Because turns out this house wasn't built to code. So literally my couch will not fit through the doors. We may have to take off the windows to get my couch into this room. So, internet access isn't bad. It's not fast, but it's pretty consistent. So I shouldn't have any problems there. The biggest issue is, it's going to be a fairly minor one, is getting back and forth into the city. The ferry is only a 40-minute trip from the ferry terminal to the other side in a place called Horseshoe Bay. And it's including, and we're only 5 minutes away from the ferry, including the ferry ride to, say, downtown Vancouver, it's about the same as when I lived out in Chilliwack. So that's not the issue. The issue is ferries running on a time schedule. Now, the good news is, if I take the motorcycle, the ferry system moves motorcycles to the front of the queue, so I don't have to wait in line to get on a ferry. So I'm almost always guaranteed of getting the ferry that I want to get at the time I want to get it. The downside is ferries, like other public transportation, run on a schedule that's time-based. And if I'm in the city and I miss the ferry, I'm stuck. So I posted some pictures on Twitter of the ferry ride, Scott Thrift. If you want to check it out, Shawn, twitter.com/Shawn King, and check out my the pictures I posted on there, or Instagram if you follow me on Instagram. You got some great pictures from there, and that's just from the with the iPhone. I'll get even better pictures once I get settled in and take my camera out. By the way, this weekend, if you are looking for something to do, they out here in Canada, Scott Thrift, what's your Instagram, Shawn King? Just try Shawn King on Instagram. If not, send me an email. Hang on, let me look it up real quick. This weekend is Turkey Day, Turkey weekend for us Canadians. We will be celebrating Thanksgiving this coming... Scott Thrift, I forgot. It's not Shawn King. It's Starting Point Photography. Let me get it for you. Oh, dear. No. Cancel. Go away. How do I find out who I am on... Oh, that's weird. I don't know how I find out who I am on... No, that's not it. Starting _point_ photography on Instagram, or send me an email and I'll send you the link. Wayne's, are they on schedule? For the most part, they are, Wayne. Depends on how busy they are. Summertime, they can be off schedule by 20 minutes. But here in the fall, they've been fine. As I said, it's Thanksgiving this weekend here in Canada, so happy Thanksgiving to all my fellow Canadians. For everyone else, it's not. But if you want to do something photographic-wise, we'll talk a little bit more of this later, the Scott Kelby Worldwide Photo Walk is coming up this Saturday. So check the website, worldwidephotowalk.com. I think that's it. Let me just check to make sure. Worldwide Photo Walk. Yes, worldwidephotowalk.com. There are, I think at last count, let me just check, 17,000 people going to be, 19,223 walkers in 982 walks around the world, literally around the world. So if you're looking for a fun thing to do this weekend, go to worldwidephotowalk.com, do a search for your area, your city, and see if there's a photo walk you could go on. I'm doing one here in Vancouver, down on Granville Island, the beautiful area here in Vancouver called Granville Island. There you go, Monty. Monty posts the Instagram.com/starting_point_photography. You can check out some of the pictures I posted up on Instagram. I love the Worldwide Photo Walk. I love the Scott Kelby Photo Walk because it's this really neat thing that there will be, as I said, 19 at last count, 19,000 photographers around the world who are all going to be shooting the same day, which is really kind of cool. I really love that kind of vibe that we're all shooting the same day. And then there are all kinds of contests. There are all kinds of prizes to be won. So you take pictures, and then you send them to your walk leader, and your walk leader picks one out of the group of people who are on your walk to win some prizes. And then those pictures get sent to the next level, and then Scott Kelby and his crew pick a worldwide winner. And they win some fabulous prizes, camera gear and software and all kinds of fun stuff. So check it out, worldwidephotowalk.com. And on tonight's show, we're going to be talking about someone asked a question about prime versus zoom lenses. What are they? What are the differences of them? And we'll talk about why you would use a prime versus a zoom lens a little later on in the show. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is Your Mac Life.
Your Mac Life.
Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King. On our phone is our good friend Jim Dalrymple. Guess where he is?
I don't know why you're surprised.
Folks, we should not be surprised that Jim's in a bar.
So, not only a bar, but a blues bar.
Nice.
It's the best New Orleans bar in San Jose. You can actually look it up online. It's at fourhostbistro.com. It is amazing.
That's a weird name for a blues bar, a bistro.
Four Host Bistro.
Macman says we're more surprised when he's not at a bar.
See? Told you.
Exactly. So we'll just wait patiently until you get your drink and walk outside.
It's coming. I got a drink. Tell me what you want. Come on. Hit me. Shoot me.
iOS 11 came out this past week. With the review units that Apple gave you guys, the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8s, did they have 11 on them, or did you install them yourself?
No, they had 11 on them.
But did they have the GM version or the beta?
I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure, but I believe it was the GM. Yeah, it must have been the GM version because it never came up to install.
So the reason why I'm asking is I don't know if you've done this comparison with your old iPhone and your new one. Does iOS 11 make a difference to the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus? Anything you noticed about them that the combination of 11 and the 8s made a big difference?
You know what? What's funny about the whole 11 thing is that I started using it, and this happens every version. I started using it so long ago, I don't remember what the other one was like. So it's difficult for me to say moving from one phone to another. I'm sure that there's some camera things and stuff like that are different in this version. But when you're using something so long, like months, it becomes natural.
Yeah.
And then if I go to somebody's phone that doesn't have that, then I'm kind of, oh, I thought it was here. Oh, wait, you're using the old version of the OS. Okay, hold on. Let me figure out where that is again in the older version. So stuff like that, it's just kind of weird. So I don't actually notice when a lot of this stuff changes and comes out.
One of the things I've noticed with iOS 11 is that it acts differently on my iPad versus on my iPhone, which I find really, really annoying. Have you noticed that?
Well, there's a lot of big changes to the iPad. Yeah. Where the hell is my beer?
That's a good question. I've been wondering that myself.
It's starting to piss me off. I'm going to start throwing empties around here soon.
But yeah, and I don't like that. I don't like the fact that the iPad acts differently. The OS acts differently on the iPad versus on the iPhone because it gets confusing. Oh, what do I do in this situation versus this device versus that device? And so that throws me off a little bit. I'm not real happy with that with iOS 11. I'll get used to it, but not crazy about it right now.
But see, I think that they had to make some changes for iPad to make it, I don't know, to make it a lot better, to make it less like an iPhone and more like an iPad. You know, you expect different things, I think, from an iPad.
Yeah.
Then I mean, you know, basically the UI and everything is the same, but there are subtle changes and differences to how apps work and, you know, multitasking and things like that you can do with an iPad. But I think that's good.
You know what? I think that might be the problem, too, is the differences are so subtle, unlike Mac OS versus iOS, where they're completely different, and I'm very comfortable flipping between the iPhone and the Mac OS. It's the idea of having to do that in the subtlety of the iOS 11 between the iPhone and the iPad that throws me off. Maybe that's the problem.
Well, that could be the problem. But I know when I'm on my iPad and I'm using iOS 11, there are certain things that I look for on my iPad that I don't look for in my phone.
Yeah.
For instance, my beer's here.
Yay!
Hold on. Hey, here. Okay, and now I'm going outside.
Thank you.
Hold on.
All right, we're waiting.
I'm just going to set my beer here. Don't take it,
okay.
though.
I don't take it.
No, don't take it. I'll get upset. Don't let anybody else take it. I'll get upset at them.
Which seems only fair.
You just got to lay down the ground rules, that's all. You know, lay down a few ground. Don't fuck with my beer.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, should that have to be said? That should be fairly understood in a bar.
You never know. I just want to say, like, okay, I told him not to fuck with my beer. Now my beer's gone. So where is it?
That's why I had to kill him.
You know, probably too soon for that joke.
Yeah.
But, you know, probably too soon.
Yeah. Well. So. The other aspect, the reason why I brought up the iPhone 8 is Google announced its new devices today, along with Sonos, and made some big announcements. You posted about them on the Loop. Any interest?
Yeah, I like them both. I thought they were some interesting announcements from both companies today.
Let's start off with the Sonos. Is that a product you actually use under the bridge?
Love Sonos.
I've never used it. For those folks who aren't familiar, explain what Sonos is.
So Sonos is it's a speaker system.
Yes,
but you can get a TV bar, you know, one of those speaker bars that goes under your TV.
Yep.
But then it hooks together with wireless speakers in that room, wireless speakers, so you get the full surround sound experience in that room. But Sonos does zones. So if I add a speaker outside, or I add a speaker in a bedroom, or I add a speaker in the basement, or whatever, you can turn on music based on the zone you're at.
Yeah.
You can turn on different music based on the zone you're at. So I can have, old time rock and roll playing in the basement, and I can have metal playing upstairs, and I can have, you know, jazz playing in a bedroom, and I can do all this kind of stuff, or I can link them all together and play it all.
Yeah.
You know, all one music. So it's this really, really nice speaker system, and you control it all in your iPhone.
So what did Sonos announce today? Tell the audience.
So they did a couple of different things today. They announced just hold on a second. They announced, don't be like that. I'm telling you, don't be like that. So today they announced integration with Alexa,
yes,
which I think was very, very smart for them. They also announced AirPlay 2 support. And, all this stuff it's coming in the speakers that you have now with a firmware update. And it's also coming in a new speaker that they have coming in. I think it's called the Sonos One,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken. So I think those are great. Now, I'll tell you, when Spotify came out, just like I got to drink a beer. Okay. When Spotify came out with with support, hey, you don't have to call me. You call me. I don't call you.
Fair point.
When Spotify came out with support for the Sonos, I was all over that.
Yep.
I'll tell you, because it was so easy to just go to the Sonos app and say, yes, play on my Sonos. And you were there, you were done. And it was playing over, these nice, really nice speakers.
Yeah.
But I believe, truly, the Sonos speaker system sounds really nice. It's really small, but they sound really good. So I'm a fan.
Now, the other question, the great question that Dave D asked in the IRC chat room is, why would Sonos be better than the Apple thingy, the HomePod, coming out soon?
Well, it's different because Apple is not going to allow you to connect your TV to a Sonos.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, to a HomePod. But your Sonos does connect to your TV, so it's a full surround sound system for streaming movies that are in HD and Dolby and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great experience in watching that type of content, but then you can connect your music.
Wait a second. The HomePod won't connect to my Apple TV?
No.
I did not know that. That's stupid.
The HomePod is an Apple Music system.
But so it's not a speaker, it's an Apple Music speaker.
Right.
I didn't know that.
There is no way to connect on the version that I saw and played with at WDC. There is no way to connect your Apple Music, or I'm sorry, there is no way to connect your HomePod to your existing home entertainment system.
That's really, so the HomePod isn't AirPlay, which sounds really weird for Apple to release a product that doesn't work with its other devices.
So, as I said today, there are a lot of questions still to be answered about HomePod.
True.
Now, excuse me, one of those questions, I think, is AirPlay.
Yeah.
So, will HomePod do Apple Music? Will you be able to go into your Apple TV and say, yes, play this through my HomePod? I don't know. But will you be able to go into your existing TV, home entertainment and say, play this through my AirPod? They say no, because in order to do that, you either need an HDMI connector or an optical connector. Yeah. Remember the optical connectors, and HomePod does not have that.
Wow.
So if it's going to connect, it has to connect through Wi-Fi or supposedly Bluetooth, but I can't see that working well.
Yeah. It just that sounds odd, and also the Sonos One is going to be, what is it, $200 cheaper or $100 cheaper, $150 cheaper?
Well, yeah, okay, go ahead.
$150 cheaper than the Sonos One product, which seems, if it were work with my TV and my music, why wouldn't I pick Sonos over the HomePod?
I don't know if Sonos One will or not. I don't know if that has HDMI or if it will connect. The great thing about the Sonos products right now is that, so let's say I have 3 Sonos Play One speakers scattered around the house and a soundbar on the TV, and they're all in different zones. I can go get another Sonos speaker, plug it in, and wirelessly connect it and have a brand new zone.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
Yep.
It really is that easy. So I can just new zone, done. and I can play my TV through there or music or whatever. I don't know, and this is part of what we don't know about HomePod. I'm looking at the Google stuff today. I thought the Google stuff was very interesting,
Yeah.
but I've heard the HomePod. The HomePod is amazing sound. It is truly amazing sound. So I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna wait for HomePod.
I think the issue is going. I think the issue is going to be for a lot of people is what services they already own and how they're going to integrate those services with the devices they have. So if you, that's really loud, Jim.
I just had to have a drink of beer. I'm back.
So I think it sounds like it's going to be, depending on what you already own, what ecosystem you're part of, that will dictate which one of these devices you buy.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing what HomePod sound. Now, I'll be honest, the room that I heard HomePod in was nothing special. It wasn't, acoustically done up or anything like that. It was just a room. And it sounded really good.
Yep.
So, if I could get a few of those around the house, that would be something.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how all this plays out. There's obviously a lot of competition for our speaker dollars coming up this Christmas, and we'll see who wins the vast majority of it. I think Apple's going to get their fair share, but I certainly believe because of name recognition, Sonos is going to get a lot more than any other company this Christmas.
I think what's going to drive a lot of the non-Apple stuff is what else they're going to do. I mean, Sonos, one of their big announcements was Alexa.
Yeah.
So is Sonos going to hurt Apple? I don't think so. But they'll probably hurt Amazon.
Yeah.
If Sonos has Alexa built in and, you can talk to that, they'll probably hurt Amazon more than Apple.
Well, I think that depends. I think it depends on how Amazon sees Alexa. I don't think Amazon's looking to make a buttload of money off Alexa. I think Amazon's looking to make a buttload of money off the things you buy through Alexa. And therefore, they don't care what device you buy it through as long as you buy it off Amazon.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, think about Alexa and what Amazon is doing with it. Beer break. They had to. They're putting it in like refrigerators. They're putting Alexa in everything.
Yep.
So, Amazon's not worried about it. I'm not saying that they're going to crush their business because Sonos is doing speakers with Alexa. Yeah. Amazon wants them to do it, obviously. That's exactly what they want. But Alexa is going to be everywhere soon.
It seems that Apple's, and we don't know what Apple's strategy is for this, and it's easy to say, Apple's falling behind or Apple has a different focus, but we don't know what Apple plans for HomePod. And I think that's part of the problem, the confusion here, is that we see HomePod all by itself, but very little of Apple stuff is all by itself. It's all connected in different ways, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you wrote it perfectly today about the guy who said that he's stuck in Apple's ecosystem. I mean, you wrote and said, well, that's actually a good thing. That's exactly what they're looking to do. But and I had a little chuckle when I read that. I got to be honest. I did. I sat back and I had a little chuckle as I cracked open a beer. But I don't know that Apple is going after the same market, but we just don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what integration Siri is going to have. We don't know, are you going to be able to do the same types of things with HomePod or, so many things that we just don't know yet. And believe me, the questions were asked.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Just no answers.
Speaking of that article, that was over on Mashables. Do you think he made any good points that there is a downside to being, for lack of a better term, trapped in iOS? I guess you're also trapped in Android too. I guess it depends on your point of view.
Well, I don't see myself at all being trapped.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't. I mean, when I look at the way that I work and the things that I want to buy, and would I get mad enough at Apple that I just want to leave and have nothing to do with them ever again?
Yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Because I know that Apple as a company and Tim as the CEO respects my privacy.
Yeah.
And I know that they fight for that, and I want that.
Yeah.
I know that my Mac works beautifully, except for the brightness, the auto brightness on my Mac. I have it turned off. It's still auto dims. Yeah. I don't want you to dim.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm in this bright sunlight right now. I need some brightness. So, there's stuff like that happens, but those are small things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough for me to post a thing on Twitter and bitch about it like most people do, but other than that, macOS works great.
But
that's my main work.
But is there
I don't feel trapped.
Is there a danger though that we don't know that we're trapped? That because once you buy the iPhone, once you buy the iOS device, you're unlikely to switch over to Google to an Android phone for any reason. I have no idea what software is available for free or cheap on Android because I've never used one.
Well, I'll be honest with you. If there's something I want to switch to, I'm just going to switch.
Yeah.
If Apple stuff all of a sudden just isn't usable anymore, then I'm going to switch. I mean, I was a big Sony guy back in the day for TVs and stuff. Well, the Sony stuff to me turned to shit. So I switched, and I switched to LG. Now everything is LG because I really, really like LG. I think their TVs are great. I think the OS that they have on their TVs is great. I really like it. So that's what I get. So I'm not afraid to switch.
Yeah.
But when I look at switching to Windows or I look at switching to Android, it just does not interest me.
Yeah, there's nothing I've ever heard on the Google side, not that I've looked very hard, where someone says, hey, my Android phone does this, and I go, oh, shit, I'd really like to have that. There are maybe some bits and pieces, but overall, no. And the other part of it is, quite fairly, I've spent so much money on iOS apps that I don't want to have to re-spend that money to replicate that procedure over on a Google device. So I'm I guess I would say I'm voluntarily trapped.
Yeah, I just don't view it as being trapped. Yep. I mean, I'm quite happy with where I am, and I continue to purchase things, whether that's on apps or music or whatever. I continue to do it, and if I felt trapped at all, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I'm really not worried about
it. It's not a huge concern for me. Dan Gilmore, a very well-respected journalist, posted on Twitter last week. He said, as much as I loathe the ad tech industry, platform companies like Apple should not be blocking ads or have cookies by default or blocking cookies by default. Users should decide. This is all about Safari under macOS High Sierra. Will now automatically block ads for you in certain situations. Do you think Dan's got a point that users should decide on this and not Apple as a company?
Oh, God, absolutely not. No. He has no point. There is no point. Because if you ask most people, do you want to be tracked? They would say no.
Yep.
But do people know how to do that? No. So Apple has come out and said, we are for user privacy. In every instance, they are for user privacy. So if Apple comes out and says that, then they should do something about it. And they have. I have no issue at all with what Apple is doing.
And the other aspect of this too that I think Dan ignores, I think it's Dan's own blinders on. Not everybody is tech savvy enough to know how to make those changes, to use a third-party ad blocker, or to know what a cookie is, for that matter. The vast majority of people who use these devices have no clue.
But what if you ask those same people, do you notice that when you go to a different website, this ad follows you around?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
That's
Do you
really
know why
annoying.
that is? Yeah. So I think Apple is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think that most people, I mean, my mother, this is the typical consumer.
Yep.
My mother, she complained to me that ads are following her around.
Yep.
Now, as it happened, she was here when Apple and the ad agencies got into this little argument.
Yep.
And I explained to her what Apple was doing and what the ad agencies were upset with. And she had no respect at all for the ad agency. She said, good, because I don't want that.
Yep.
And she's a typical consumer. So did she know how to go in or would she know how to go in and turn that feature on? No.
Yep.
No, she wouldn't. But did it annoy her? Yeah, it did. So, that just shows that Apple's doing the right thing. I mean, obviously, that's a sample of one.
Yeah.
But I think my mother is an average consumer who uses her iPhone and iPad all day long.
Yep. And the other aspect of this is screw the ad companies. That I don't care if Apple's doing this behind the scenes and no one knew what they were doing. The fact that you guys know that your tactics are reprehensible, we don't want you to do it, yet you still continue to do it. I have no problem with a company like Apple stepping up and saying, we're going to protect our users because you idiots in the ad agencies wouldn't do what the users want, which is not be tracked all over the frickin' internet.
Look, you would think that me, of all people, being a publisher on the internet, would want people to be tracked all over the place. But I don't. I want people to have the choice.
Yep.
I want people to be able to come to the Loop and read a post that you or Dave or I make without fear of being tracked all over the place.
Yep.
Now, Apple is not just blatantly blocking everything all over the place.
That's right.
If you interact with an ad, then Apple will allow them to track you.
Yep.
And that's fair because you interacted with an ad. That means that you are interested.
Yep.
So I'm good with that. I think that they took the right approach. They didn't just block everything.
Yep.
They said, okay, you clicked on this. You must want to know more about this, and we're going to allow them to track you, and they can find out some stuff in here.
Yep.
But that's it. That's the end of it. Just because I did a search on Amazon for something doesn't mean that ad's going to follow me for the next 30 days.
I know, that's so annoying. That's going to be besides autoplay ads, it's going to be the most annoying thing I see. Makes me not want to go to Amazon half the time.
What was it that Macworld posted something about autoplay videos, and you mentioned that too. I wonder if they get the irony of
that. And to be fair, as much as I slam Macworld, I know everyone in the editorial side of Macworld hates those autoplay ads as much as we all do.
Of course they do.
But those poor schmucks have got no say over what the ad company does, which is why Macworld, the magazine, and Macworld, the website, have gone to the fucking toilet over the last 2 years because the ad guys took over and ruined a once proud brand. So that's the reason why that happened.
And there's your editorial for tonight.
Exactly. Scott Thrift in the IRC chat room says, ask Jim if he's seen the new Apple TV. Has he tried the 4K? Is it worth the upgrade?
Okay. So this is an interesting thing. I have seen it. I don't know if it's worth the upgrade because I haven't actually used it
Yep.
yet. Hopefully, by this time next week, I'll be able to give you some answers. But here's the thing with my situation and Apple TV 4K. I have a 4K TV, but I don't have an HDR TV.
How did you get a 4K TV under the bridge? You steal that?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, you can report me if you want, if you know exactly which bridge it is. But yes, so I don't have an HDR TV, but I have a 4K TV. So okay. I don't know what difference all of that makes. It does make a big difference that any content that you purchase from Apple in the past will be 4K.
Yes.
That to me is huge. But how that 4K content will look because it's not on an HDR TV, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so hopefully maybe by next week we'll have some information for you about that.
Hopefully, yeah.
Jim, I'm going to let you go. You're going to go off and enjoy the music. Folks, we're talking with Jim Dalrymple, The Loop at loopinsight.com. Thanks, Jim.
Are you watching the hockey game tonight?
No, I'm doing a show.
I scammed a ticket to the Sharks home opener tonight. I'm at a bar right down the street from the SAP Center.
Good for you. Have fun.
So I'm going to the Sharks game.
Nice. Enjoy, man.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
All right. See you. Bye. Bye. That was loud. That was annoying and loud. Loud and annoying. Like Jim. That seems kind of fair. Those two things match up so nicely. A couple little tidbits. I love this. Most of us in the audience who are listening to the sound of my voice, we're all of that age who grew up before the internet, I would say. Most of us, the majority of us. So we knew a time before the internet. Someone posted this last month in September, and I absolutely love this thing. Before cell phones and social media, this is how we figured out where our friends were. And it's a great picture of a front lawn in a obviously suburban type neighborhood with like 6 bicycles on the lawn. And it's hilarious because it's true. When we were kids, that's how you knew where your buddies were. You just rode around, you saw where the bicycles were, and you stopped there. I just thought it was kind of funny. I think this is even funnier because, as I said earlier, Melissa has an 11-year-old and he has an iPhone, and that's how him and his buddies communicate. He doesn't ride his bicycle down to see if Jasper's home. He texts Jasper, "Jasper, you home? Where you at? You're at Hayden's? All right." And they skateboard over there. So I just thought it was kind of... Wayne says, remember when you actually had to plan shit? Now it's texting right up to the minute of. Scott Thrift says, that Twitter link had the picture covered as it may contain sensible material. You mean sensitive. If it does, that would be weird because that's not sensitive material. It's just kids' bicycles. It'd be strange if it said that. Philip Morris on Twitter posted this. And tell me, congratulations. You've just won a lifetime supply of the last thing you bought. What do you now have forever? Pass it on. What's the last thing you bought? And imagine you now have a lifetime supply of that. Why do we get the feeling for me it's potatoes or ramen? Wayne gets a lifetime supply of coffee. Mosquito gets a lifetime supply of Wendy's hamburgers. Monty gets a lifetime supply of lock washers. Scott Thrift, lifetime supply of toilet rolls. Sherry, cat antibiotics. Dave D wins, I think. He gets a lifetime supply of Roscoe's pulled pork sandwiches. Yeah, Dave D wins. Arcsine gasoline. So, yeah, you're up there too. Yeah, I think I get a lifetime supply of ramen. Which, you know what? That's not a bad thing. You can make ramen pretty tasty. And then this Farhad Manju, I think is the New York Times, who is quite often an idiot. And he says, I have a solution for the movie industry's problem of people not going to the movies anymore. Let us use phones. He means in the movie theater during the movie. Now, this comes up every now and then, and this has got to be the stupidest idea ever. That's not why people aren't going to movies, because they can't use their phone in the middle of the movie. Movies, by their nature, are a social thing. That you're there with 100, 200, 300 other strangers. And because you're with strangers, there is a community aspect to it, and you must abide by the rules of the community. The community is there to watch a movie, to listen to a movie. You being on your phone distracts from that experience. If you need to be on your phone, get out of the movie theater. This is not rocket science. You don't have to be on your phone 24 hours a day. And I say this as someone who's on his phone frequently. But anybody who needs to use their phone while a movie is playing shouldn't be in the movie. On a personal note, anybody who uses a phone in a movie theater within my eyesight will be asked very pleasantly, would you mind please turning off your phone? The first time. The second time, I will be a little more insistent. Excuse me, I've asked you once, please put away your phone. The third time, I will take your phone out of your hands and throw it across the room. Yeah, MacMan, how about not making shit movies? There's the reason why we're not going to the movies. And because of assholes talking in the movie and being just general jerks in the movie. And quite frankly, us not standing up for ourselves and telling the assholes to stop being assholes and the jerks to stop being jerks. But that's a whole different thing. Wayne, I did not pay $15 to look at your fucking phone. Exactly. That letting people use the phone is not the solution. Good movies is the solution. I will go and see a good movie. I have no problem going and spending $15 a ticket. We don't, but that's what we pay. $15 a ticket, $20 for fucking popcorn and a bag of M&Ms and a soda water. That's $50. Okay, fine. The movie's good enough. I'm sorry, I'm snotty face. Hang on. The movie's good enough. I'll spend $50 for it. But you got to make a good enough movie. And the problem is nowadays, there are a lot fewer movies I'm willing to take a chance on without having read a bunch of reviews and decided, yes, everyone likes this movie. If a movie gets just average reviews, I'll wait till it shows up on Netflix. If a movie gets rave reviews, everyone loves the movie, then I'll go see it. Or if it's of a particular subject matter or actor that I really, really like, I really enjoy watching, I'll go see it. But it's got to be damn good nowadays. Because if nothing else, I've got a 55-inch TV. I got a decent sound system. I got a comfortable couch. I got beer. I got a pause button so I can go to the bathroom. You got to make that experience better. And letting me use my phone is not better. Does not make things better. Oh, dear. Tonight we're drawing for the Lowepro camera bags. As I've said before on the show, I love Lowepro bags. Always have. Always will. They make a wide variety of bags for all kinds of cameras, all kinds of gear. Whether it is for a little point and shoot, you can get Lowepro bags that are little tiny for your little point and shoot that just sit on your hip. And you can get Lowepro bags for your Canon Rebel and a couple lenses. You can get Lowepro bags for shitloads of professional gear. You can get all kinds of great Lowepro bags. My personal favorite one is the sling bag that slides across your chest. It's Rather than having a backpack that you've got to put over one shoulder, because this goes across your chest like a messenger bag with your gear in the back, your hands are free. But the great thing about the sling bags is when you want to get at your camera or a different lens, you just grab the bag and slide it forward, and it's at chest level. You undo the zippers, you pop it open. There's your lenses, there's your gear, there's your water bottle, there's all that kind of stuff. So I'm a big fan of the Lowepro bags and all the different kinds of bags that they have for users. So I got an email from someone asking me about prime lenses versus zoom lenses and what the difference is. So let me try this. Okay, a prime lens is a lens that doesn't have any zoom on it. So it doesn't, there's no thing, there's no, what's that called? My head is so foggy. Twisty bit. Yes, I'm a professional photographer. I know what this is, but I can't think of the word right now. Single focus ring. There's no zoom ring on it. So if you want to get closer to the subject, you actually physically have to move closer. If you want to get further away, you physically have to move further away. Whereas the zoom lets you zoom in and zoom out. Zoom ring. Thanks, Dave D. But the other differences between a prime and a zoom are significant. A prime lens generally has fewer moving parts, so they can generally be less expensive. But prime lenses often also have higher quality materials. They've got better glass. They'll have a lot more metal parts to them. You can get a wide variety of specific purpose prime lenses. So, for example, you've seen fisheye lenses. It gives that really weird curved effect. Fisheyes are prime lenses. They've only got one zoom distance. The other aspect about prime lenses that's really cool is generally your prime lenses have a lower f-stop number. Remember from previous shows, a low f-stop number means the aperture opens up much, much wider. The wider your aperture, the more light. The more light it can capture means the less light you need to capture photos. I've got a nice, I love my 24-135 Nikon lens that I use all over the place, but its lowest aperture is 4.5. So when it gets fairly dark, say dusk, it gets harder and harder to get good shots. But my fairly inexpensive prime lens, my Nifty 50, has got f1.8, which means that the aperture opens up really, really wide. It takes great low light shots. If I ever want to shoot at night, or if I want to shoot in a dark bar or at dusk, I put on my Nifty 50 because it sucks in a lot of light because the aperture opens up so wide. So that's one of the many benefits of the prime lens. And as I always told folks, if you have a Nikon or DSLR or any camera, get one of the cheap 50 millimeter lenses. Another advantage for it is because your aperture is so wide open, you get a really, really shallow depth of field. The amount of things that are in focus in front of and behind your subject is a lot less. So you get this great blurry background. You want to take pictures of people's faces, you want to take portrait shots, the background is really nice and blurry. You want to do up-close shots, the background is really nice and blurry. So the prime lenses have often got, because of the lower aperture, the lower f-stop number, they've got a much greater depth of field. The downside of a prime lens is because there's no zoom, they may not be very good for travel photography, for, say, general purpose photography. I say travel photography because say you are going to Paris and you want to take a picture of the Eiffel Tower. A 50 millimeter prime lens that has no zoom forces you to stand in a certain place to get a picture of the Eiffel Tower. Whereas a zoom lens, you can stand in that same place, get that picture of the Eiffel Tower, and then zoom in to get a closer picture of the Eiffel Tower, then zoom some more to get a closer picture, and closer and closer. So the zoom allows you to get closer to the subject without actually physically moving. And that's great for things that you can't get to. A zoo, for example. The lions are behind a barrier, and your prime lens can't see that far. You end up with a big wide shot, but you want a close-up zoom shot of the lion's face. Your zoom lens will do that for you. Zoom lenses have a lot more versatility too. You can get the kit lens that you bought with your camera is probably 18-55, so it works from an 18 millimeter focal length to 55. But then you can buy. My favorite lens is a Nikon 24-70. You can get 20-200. You can get 18-300. So there's all kinds of focal length ranges that you can get with zoom lenses that can cover a lot more. So, in theory, maybe you go traveling with a 18-200 millimeter lens. It's a fairly large lens, but when you're traveling, it gives you a lot of flexibility of what you can shoot. And I recommend these lenses for beginners because you don't necessarily know what kind of shooting you want to do as a beginner. You don't know that you're a portrait photographer. You don't know if you're a landscape photographer or a wildlife photographer. So you buy a lens with the most versatility and then learn how to shoot and learn what kind of things you like to shoot. And then that will direct you to the kind of lens you want to buy. So, for example, for me, I like street photography. I like portrait photography. That's what I shoot the most of. So I know my next lens is going to be an 85 millimeter f1.8 Nikon lens because that's the kind of lens I want to get for my portraiture. I started off with a great big 20-200 millimeter lens. And it wasn't great. It didn't give you really, really sharp images, but that's how I learned the kind of shot that I wanted to take. So keep that in mind. If you're a beginner, look for a wide range, focal length range. Rent them if you want to. Get a nifty 50 prime lens so you can get a sense of how prime lenses work, that you have to physically move back and forth with a prime lens, and get a sense of how much light a prime lens can suck in for you. And doing that will give you a better idea of what kind of photographer you want to be or are. Take those shots, look at those shots, and say, hey, I've taken a lot of landscape shots. I like landscape shots, so I'll be a landscape photographer. These are the kind of lenses I need for landscape photography. Or I ended up taking a lot of action shots. So this is the kind of lens I'm going to need in action shots. There's all kinds of different reasons to go with a prime lens versus a zoom lens. And as always, there's not one right answer for every single person. You've got to sort of play around and experiment and figure it out for yourself what kind of things you want to shoot. Our friend Monty in the IRC chat room sent me this email. He said, we're going on a cruise in mid-November. Have you seen a bag for a Nikon D300 DSLR, a few lenses, and a MacBook Pro? Yes, Lowepro. Dude, I've been doing this for a month now. Lowepro makes bags in that range that will happily be backpack-like and carry all that stuff. He said, this past week, I was in Sam's Club. I had a few moments to kill, so I was looking at their camera gear. Woman asked me if I knew anything about cameras and photography. Would I mind if she asked a few questions? She'd been in the week before and bought the Canon kit that Sam's has. She was considering returning it and buying the Nikon kit because the photos don't look like what I see. A few questions and answers later, I finally understood that what she was unhappy about was the size and scale of things she was photographing. She said, if I look at the moon at night with nice clouds, I think that's pretty. Then I take a picture of it. Why is the moon a tiny dot in my pictures, but not when I look at it with my eyes? How do I get a lens that makes my pictures look like what my eye sees? It's a great, Monty, thanks very much for that. There's more, but we'll do this section first. That's a great point that a lot of beginners don't understand. And one of the things you have to understand is, I've said in the show many times, that the best camera you're ever going to have, the best lens you're ever going to have, the best sensor you're ever going to have is your own eyes and your brain. There's more resolution. Your eyes and brain can distinguish more colors, more shades of gray, more shadow, more everything. But your eyes and your brain, sorry, not your eyes, your brain also fools you. That's what optical illusions are. We've all seen that idea that you see a full moon rising over the city, and the moon looks freaking huge. It looks utterly massive. And then as it goes up into the sky, it gets smaller. Well, that actually doesn't happen. It's an optical illusion that when the moon is near the horizon and near things that you already know the size of, your brain makes the moon bigger. That's why in that situation, if you took a picture of the moon with those buildings, the moon wouldn't look huge at all. It would look the same size as it does when it's directly overhead. So what happens is, you're seeing, your brain, your eyes are seeing it correctly, but your brain is interpreting it as an optical illusion. And so you think the moon is absolutely massive. That's why she's not seeing the moon in her pictures the way she imagines it to be, or the way she sees it in her mind. Now, the way to get that picture, yes, we've all seen that picture. What you need basically on those pictures is a decent-sized telephoto lens. Because when you zoom in on that shot, telephoto lenses by their nature make, they compress background and foreground images. And so that's where you see these wonderful shots of the moon rising over New York City. The moon looks really, really big. Or they're photoshopped. One of the two. But that's what would solve, or partially solve, that problem for her, is the fact that if she got a zoom lens, a 300 millimeter zoom lens, and took that same kind of picture, she'd see the moon much larger. Monty goes on to say, she'd been online to some site that had lots of camera lenses and had a stack of printed pages almost an inch thick with notes and circles around various ones, some of them very expensive glass. I noted that some of them were Canon mount lenses, some of them Nikon mount lenses, and others of them didn't even have that information listed. I asked if she understood that lenses are camera manufacturer specific, and the lens made for a Canon will not fit on a Nikon camera and vice versa, and she did not know that. Another problem with beginners. It would be like if you bought a Ford car and Ford told you, see those tires? You can only buy Ford tires. You can't buy tires that fit on a Chevy. And you go, well, why not? They're all tires. They're all round. They don't work the same. Ford says, nope, you can only put Ford tires on a Ford car. And Chevy says the same thing. Nope, you can only put Chevy tires on Chevy tires. That sounds ridiculous. Yeah, but remember, every camera body and every camera manufacturer does different things. So a lens from Canon that goes on Canon body will do Canon things. So Canon has what's called image stabilization on the body of the camera. It works with the lens. Nikon has image stabilization on Canon, vibration reduction on Nikons. So vibration reduction works in the body, and it works with the lens. Well, if you took the Canon lens and put it on the Nikon body, you wouldn't get image stabilization or vibration reduction, because the electronics on the Canon lens don't match up and don't work with the electronics on the Nikon lens. It's not a matter of the glass, it's a matter of the electronics. Now, some manufacturers do allow you to swap lenses between manufacturers. The Micro Four Thirds mirrorless kind of guys from Olympus and Sony and Fuji, most of their lenses are fairly interchangeable. So those guys you could switch the lenses with, but Canon and Nikon, for the most part, you can't do that. By the end of our conversation, Monty says, I had at least convinced her to stick with the camera she'd already purchased. A friend and her and family members have Canon cameras, so she has more chance of getting help from them. But I don't think I gave her enough help, in terms she understood, to answer her, why don't my pictures look like what I see, problem or question. I did give her your name and the SPP website, but thought this sounded like a good topic for a show segment as you are a much better teacher than me. Thank you, Monty. That was very kind of you to say that. I appreciate that. So that's why. It's an optical illusion that we think we see the moon being really, really huge, but in fact, it's not. Hopefully that helps out. Hopefully she's listening and she gets that information. For those folks who, I'm going to wrap the show up because I'm getting ready to fall over in this chair. I got questions from a lot of people, and I'll get to those. Like I said, I'm barely coherent. Jesus. Okay. So we have, thanks very much to the nice folks at Lowepro. They've been sponsoring this segment for the past month. Thank you very much. Lowepro.com. If you don't win tonight and are looking for a camera bag, go to lowepro.com. Check it out. They got a camera bag finder. So you actually list the kind of things that you want in a camera bag, and they'll choose the best camera for you, the best camera bag for you. Go into your local camera store here in Canada. Go to London Drugs. Go to Best Buy. Go to any camera store, and I guarantee you they're going to have Lowepro gear that you can play around with and check out. Bring your camera with you and make sure it fits with your camera gear. I guarantee it will. Great product, great company, lowepro.com. So what I'm going to do is, here's me scrolling through the list of people. I'm not looking, so hang on. I got to get this up here. And okay, you guys, somebody else, stop. I can't do both at the same time. I'm scrolling, and Scott Thrift said stop. This goes out to, stop, Dave Martin. Dave Martin in California. Dave works for our favorite fruit company. Congratulations, Dave. You have won a Lowepro camera bag. Let me just make this note. Lowepro for Dave. Oops. Spell check. Fix that. Don't do that. Congratulations to Dave Martin for winning one of the Lowepros. And now I'm going to scroll all the way down. Let me go all the way down first, and then back up again. Someone say stop. Scott Thrift beat you all to it, said stop again. This is going to go out to, come on, stop. Forrest Jafuta. What a great name. Forrest Jafuta. Forrest, you've also won a Lowepro. No, spell check it for me, thank you. A Lowepro camera bag. Folks, thank you guys very much. For everyone who subscribes to Your Mac Life, I appreciate you guys being subscribers, and to anyone who just put an entry form, thanks very much for doing that too. But subscribe. Please subscribe. Seriously. This move cost me a fortune. I don't know what I should, whatever. We'll say thanks very much to everyone for being tuned in. Thanks to all the folks in the RC chat room for being tuned in on tonight's show. Thanks to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for being here. As always, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!